Good afternoon, everyone. Until mid 1400, the world was a humongous concept. And with the invention of the printing machine, the world started to shrink. And over the period of time, technological advancement brought a world made a world very tiny space, right? It's a global village. So there was a time when electron used to transfer through this kind of device called vacuum tubes. I am sure none of you have seen except one or two seasoned professionals like me in their lifetime in engineering. These vacuum tubes used to drive the electrons from one plate to the other, and the computers used to run. So if you look into the device, which is big, humongous in size, this is the average small size actually, and the processing power of computing was slow. Then in the mid 40s, precisely 1947, something was invented serendipitously. And that thing is called transistor, which is in my hand, which is very tiny. A silicon device, right? So whatever this vacuum tube do, this can do. But look at the size. And with the invention of integrated circuits, the power of computing amplified. Exponential growth. Every 18 months to 24 months, it doubles. So you can see over a period of time, from 1450s to our generation, our time, technological advancement had brought such a drastic change in our lifestyle. So when I was doing my engineering, and when we used to go to National Computer Center, or even the Election Commission, the computers were huge. Now it's in your hand, in your mobile phones, because of this technology. But technological is only one part. The major part that I would like to request all the innovators, the change maker, to understand something called serendipity. Now, what is serendipity? So serendipity is a concept that makes you understand that whatever we try to plan certain things, but there are so many things happens without any planning. So let me pull up my slide. The serendipity came from the word, the story, Serendip, a country the British couldn't pronounce, Swarnadweep. And the princess used to discover so many things unplanned. I don't want to go to the stories because I'd have a limited time, 18 minutes. So directly hit to the business case studies. So in 1920, for example, one of the employee of the Johnson & Johnson used to have a very unique, peculiar situation at his home. His wife, while cutting vegetables, used to cut her hands, and he used to bring tape and cotton from his office. And one day the management saw what this guy was trying to do, and they immediately recognized this could be a very good product, and they named it Band-Aid, 1920. And we are still using that product, which was unplanned. Around late 1960s, Dr. Spencer in 3M company was assigned to make a very powerful adhesive tape. But he invented something called Post-it note. The Post-it note that we use today is a non-sticky note, or rather a very simple sticky note. And that was a serendipity discovery. Still we are using it. So the basic fundamental concept is, to the change makers, is that do not wait for to do planning and all. There are so many opportunities around you. You just need to look into it. Look at the pattern of the events that is happening. As I was talking about the story, they discovered so many things on the desert, looking at the pattern of the event that has occurred over a period of time. Sagacity by accidents. or agacity, accidents by sagacity. So these are the stories that tells us what we need to do is something called Carpedium. So now what is Carpedium is a concept that we use in management, for example. In this, you need to act like a Janus leadership. So if you look into the picture that is over there on the screen, this is the god of the month of the Gregorian calendar, January. Why the god, January month god, has two heads looking in the opposite direction? Quite obvious. What we do at the end of December, we make resolutions, right? With the experiences from the past, try to see that I'll do certain things in the future or the coming years. That's what it has a Janus leadership concept. If you really want to be a very effective leader or a change maker, then you have to have a boundary spanner. Same concept of Janus leadership. So the boundary spanner is someone who doesn't sit inside the organization. He stays at the edge of his organization or his sphere of influence and look outside and look inside the organization and try to relate what's happening around the environment and try to relate that into his company. And then realizes that certain things are changing. Those leadership who looks and try to reconnect or connect the dots survives. Those who do not fades in the history. That's the reason. So another tip to the change makers is be a Janus leadership. Be a boundary spanner. Okay? Having said this, another formula, a tip is do not fight for the pie. We generally are taught to fight for the pie. Do not fight for the pie. So basically what I'm saying is, we know the story of rabbit and the turtle. They run. Turtle wins, which is very interesting. Whatever they do, the winner is always the turtle. But then they realize it cannot go on forever. So they change the plan. So both can walk together, swim together, and go to the destination or reach the destination. So basic fundamental principle is collaborate. Collaborate, coordinate, co-invent, and move on inventing what you are trying to do. We are basically taught to compete. Well, compete you can do to a certain extent. But what you need to understand in business, you need to have networks. Networks, network, and network. That means you need to collaborate. You need to have a mentor, guide, who can take you to the next phase of your innovation life cycle. So these are some of the concepts I thought I could share with you. So I'm not talking about the conventional way, be empathetic, do this, do that. Everybody tells you that. So my experiences of 30 years in the industry, in the Nepal Police Force, and in the business school, and currently I'm involved as a faculty in the Nepal's first research university, I always tell my students that go beyond the conventional wisdom. Always think outside the box. Always think of the black swan, the outlier. We always talk about, when we talk about the data and we like to plot the data, we always talk about the data who was very near to each other. That is very conventional approach. But look at the outlier. That's the thing we need to do. Think outside the box. That's what it means. Think of the black swan that may risk your business, for example. So having said this, the next idea is to be very focused. Okay? So if you have seen a movie called Focus, Will Smith, wonderful. You may have remember a character on the t-shirt number 55. He creates a scenario for his competitor to bet. Everywhere the competitor goes, he sees only the number 55. On the lift, on the doorway, bus number plate, everywhere. Even on the street with the sign plate 55. In the football ground, 55. So he already have manifested the 55 number. When he bets, Will Smith wins the game. Right? It's a very interesting movie. Now this is a movie, you might say. But let's look at the theoretical concept. In the theoretical concept, we call it Pareto's law. What the Pareto's law tells us, if you want 80% of the outcome, you don't need to study Tupi Madera. Or you need to do business, whatever, 100%. No need. Just put your 20% of effort, 80% result is there. This is from the research. And the question is, which 20%? The vital few. The vital few 20% is the most significant part should be of your life. That gives you 80%. That is the reason so many people who succeed actually focused on what they really want to do. Then, there are a couple of pictures over here. And we have two Nepalese over there, Biswas Dhakal and Yeniye Hero, Kulman, engineer Kulman, right? And there are so many other international people, including Amitabh Bachchan. All these people, the personalities have their own challenges. But they came with very unique ideas. They brought so many new concepts. Let's talk about, for example, Walmart. Walmart is a department store intended for everybody. So anyone with any size of the pocket can go to the Walmart. Amitabh Bachchan, when he came to the industry, he was termed as a camel. But he became the superstar of the Indian industry. He collapsed. He nearly died. Again, his business doomed. Again, he came back with the KBC, Kaun Banega Crorepati. We used to live in 18 hours of load shedding in Nepal. Then Kulman came, everything changed, right? So many examples. The question is, what these people have with them? Some call it psychological hardiness. I call it belief, the values they bring. Belief makes us who we are. So change makers, if you believe you can change, you can. It's all manifestations. So let me tell you a story. A long time ago in the Ganges, there used to be a hermit, a sadhu, who used to do Surya Namaskar every morning. And one day, he was doing it, a mouse fell in his hands. And he realized that the mouse is the crow that you see in the picture is trying to eat the mouse. And he thought to keep the mouse safe. So at that time, there was no pet shop, so he couldn't find a mouse, Musadani, something like that, right? So what he did was, he did sadhana and thought that I will convert a mouse into human. And did some sadhana and the mouse turned into a human. And behold, that mouse was actually a female mouse. So the girl was born. She grew up in ashram. She became very beautiful, as you see in the picture. And the Babaji thing is so powerful in our part of the world. Everybody follows Babaji. Any Babaji. You must have read so many of them. So that at that time, everybody wanted to marry the girl because that person would become very powerful because father-in-law is the Babaji, the sadhu. But she do not wanted to marry anybody. And suddenly they decided to go to different places, but no. And they came to Himalayas, Nepal. All the people across the world, when they frustrated, depressed, they come to Himalayas and do dhyan and tapasya and meditation since a long time. And they did the same thing. And as they're walking towards Everest, because the father thought, maybe she will marry the Everest, Sagarmatha. And as they were walking on the Namche Bazaar, she saw a mouse and said, Daddy, I want to marry the mouse. Okay? Puna musika bhava means again be a mouse. And they get married off. So the question is, throughout her life, what she thought she was? Obviously a mouse. So if you think you are a lion, you become a lion. If you think you are a tiger, you'll become a tiger. If you think you are a programmer, you'll become a programmer. Now, the story is very interesting. What the research say? Research call it Pygmalion effect. The Pygmalion effect makes you who you are. So Pygmalion came from the Greek, a person who made a statue. He fell in love with the statue, did some tapasya, and the statue turned into a lady and he got married. That's what the story tells us. But in vivo, the data tells the same thing. The data also tells the same thing. Look at these two titles. शाखा अधिकृत लेखेको नेम प्लेटमा आफ्नो नाम भएको कल्पना गर्दै पढे, अधिकृत भएर काम गर्दै गरेको कल्पना गरेर तयारी गरे, उद्धव अधिकारी and प्रमिला राई, कल्पना राई. They manifested to become the section officer. To pass the Lok Seva is not easy anyway. They didn't say, I work hard and I become section officer. No, not at all. And the same thing applies to me. Since my childhood, I wanted to be an engineer. That's why I had this. And I became. I wanted to do PhD. I became. I wanted to go to force and to contribute because my father was a police officer. And I did that. I wanted to be a teacher, a professional teacher, like my mother who was a nurse turned into a professor. And I did that. It happened. Sometimes I wonder I should have something think big like many billionaire can think of. It would have happened. Right? Sochaiko uchai thula raख्नुपर्छ. Right? This is the basic concept that I thought I would share. But in the process, it's not easy. So many inventions being made. One of the vacuum cleaner was made after 5,700 prototypes being failed. Do you remember someone called Samuel Pierpont Langley? Nobody remembers him. Everybody remembers the Wright brothers. They were trying to make the aeroplane at the same time. Samuel Pierpont Langley, quit. They continued and they flew. So you need to keep on going. Charai beti, charai beti. So at the end, what I'm saying is, keep on going. Follow your dream, follow your passion, grow your network, have communication, learn international languages, go to the conferences, go to the networks, everywhere. Try to build your network. So over a period of time, you really can contribute what we are thinking in the world, but do not forget to enjoy your life. Thank you very much. Once again, my name is Rajib Subba, and I'm on LinkedIn and Facebook. Let's connect. Thank you.